Good morning. It is Monday morning, April the 11th. Welcome to another edition post-spring break of Mental Health Monday. I hope everyone who has been spring breaking, or I know we have audience across the world, Kristen, so there may be people spring breaking right now. So hopefully maybe you're tuning in, but spring break and any type of break is a huge part of mental health. And so we hope that you were able to enjoy some time away. I'm Mayor Chris Jenson, joined once again by my good friend, somebody who just graciously gives of her time to help us walk through these great exercises and have these wonderful conversations. My friend Kristen Boice, the owner of Pathways to Healing Counseling. Good morning, Kristen.
Good morning, Mayor Jenson. It's good to be back.
Yes.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. It was, like I said, time for us to take a little bit of a break for spring break time and rest and reset. Kristen and I were just discussing before we went on live. We had different spring break experiences. Her and her beautiful family got away for a little bit, which was great. The Jenson family hunkered down and stayed in what I consider paradise, which is Noblesville, Indiana. But I will tell you that the weather, as I was telling Kristen, the weather with 4 small kids at home for 2 weeks was not ideal, but we survived it and we thrived during it. And we tackled some home improvement projects, which is great. And but I was excited to get kids out the door to school, back to their routine, which we've talked about on the show and how important that is as well. So I don't know about you, Kristen, but I was reminding my kids that it is like a 7-week march till the end of the school year. So summer break is around the corner. So let's get focused on that. So
that's good to know. I haven't even calculated it.
Yes, it's about 7 weeks to go. 7 weeks to go.
Count. Yeah. I love the picture where you're trying to paint.
Exactly.
You're like, this is what it looks like to paint with little ones.
Oh yeah, I did. I posted a picture last night. I'm working on an art room project in one of our rooms, and I was my wife is the handyman, so she was doing the wood cutting. I was doing the painting, and then with a 1-year-old who now gets into everything. So Kristen's referring to a cute little picture. I put her in a box in the room, so she played in the box for a good 20 minutes or so while I painted. So sometimes you just got to contain them.
Yes.
So
and the boxes usually are the biggest hit.
Yeah, you spend all this money on all these great toys. The kids just really want a box of fresh Indiana air. That's all they want. So at least my kids do. So anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're going to talk about some mental health here on Monday. We're going to tackle some defensiveness, kind of picking up where we left off 2 weeks ago. We're going to talk about some stress. We're going to talk about all the things today on Mental Health Monday, which is great. As always, if you have any questions, we know we have dozens of viewers live every week. We have thousands of viewers actually over the 2-week time. But if you have any questions or want to say hi, chime in, write a note, let us know your thoughts. We'll be ready to tackle them or say hi back to you, whatever you like. This is all about improving your overall mental wellness here today. So a big part of that is making sure that we breathe properly. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kristen to lead us through a square breathing exercise.
So this is the most important tool I can teach. And I used it multiple times daily, if not hundreds of times daily over break, just to recenter, recharge, get yourself grounded instead of reactive. And when we're talking about defensiveness today, this is what I invite everybody to practice. So it's called square breathing. We're going to start with our feet on the floor. Why do we do that? We ground the body and the nervous system so we can be in this present moment, not in the past, not in the future, because our thoughts want to take us to both the past and the future and the worry and the what ifs. So we want to come back to this present moment. We start with our feet on the floor. We're going to inhale through our nose and slowly exhale out our mouths. And we're going to do it together. I like to do the count of 4 for the inhale. We hold the breath for 4 and a slow release out the mouth for 8. Let's do 2 breaths together. And then you're going to do this periodically throughout your day. Every hour is what I recommend. So your body starts, when it starts to get stressed, when it starts to get activated, you will go to the breath to recenter and reground. Feet on the floor, kind of get comfortable in your chair, feeling your body in your chair. Big, deep inhale through your nose. Hold, and then exhale. I can feel that my shoulders were tense at the beginning. I can feel the tightness. And then as I let that breath out, my shoulders, really let those shoulders drop. Let your body soften into it. So another deep inhale in. Hold and release. I could just feel my body relaxing. The more you do it, the more relaxed you're going to feel in your body. And I say 5 to 6 breaths minimum to really get the full benefit of coming back into the present moment and letting those thoughts float on by, letting those worries go on by. And as you say too, this has been your go-to strategy since we started Mental Health Mondays.
It is. I say it's one of the most simple things when you think about it. We have to breathe in order to live, right? But it's been the most impactful to me to really focus myself. It's something I institute daily, not just in my work life, but obviously my home life as well. It's really, Kristen, if you could touch on quickly, both a mental and a physical exercise. You talked a lot about the feelings, the shoulders dropping. I always get just a sense of internal calmness, but mentally it's a mind clearing as well, correct?
It absolutely is, because what it's doing is it's working with your vagal nervous system. I won't get too technical because it'll get a little out there, even for me. But what it does is with your nervous system, what we do is we hold the stress in our body, we hold the emotions in our body. And when we soften into it, relax our jaw, even the tension in our eyes, sometimes we're squinting or we're kind of thinking about something, and we're softening our facial expressions, softening our jaw, even softening your tongue inside your mouth when you're breathing. That allows you to release. It's like taking a big exhale. That's why people say just breathe. You'll hear that a lot. And you're like, don't tell me to breathe when you're really triggered. And if you can tell yourself to breathe, that's the power. And then those around you, what it is it's contagious. Just like anxiety is contagious, self-soothing, self-calming, and being self-regulated is even more powerful, because you're then helping the whole system relax and come back to a centered state. The challenge is we have to be willing to do this work. We have to be willing to practice the body, letting that body in, the tension in your body, exhale, release out of your body. That's why movement is so helpful. Being in nature is so helpful. Walking is powerful because you're releasing. It's kind of that bilateral movement, working with that right and left hemispheres of your brain to get yourself regulated. That's why that walking can help you go, okay, I'm okay now. When people like, just take a walk around the house and then come back, don't have this. If you're not regulated, put the conversation on hold until you can come back and breathe through that dysregulation or the activation you feel in your body.
Yep. All good advice there. So you actually mean something when you say go take a walk for a minute. So good. All right, let's dive in on defensiveness. We talked about this 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and really I'd love for you to recap. I think there's 5 different areas. I might have just pulled that number out, so I could be wrong. Around defensiveness, or 5 different types, if you will. Kind of talking a little bit about defensiveness. It's something that I personally have been working on myself. And not only at home with Julie Jenson, but also here at work with being defensive. I at times get folks that chime in on my handling of certain things, and I'm trying to work on how I react to that and how I leave space to hear that feedback and not pivot directly to defensiveness. So with that, I'll let you take it, Kristen.
So let's define defensiveness. What is it? How do we use it? Just so we're on the same page, because we all have it. So people are like, I don't get defensive. I'm like, we all have this. It's a way to protect yourself from blame, shame, judgment. It's a survival state that we learned to really be able to survive kind of being in the world, right? The hurt that comes from each other. Like we're all kind of the walking wounded. We all have pain, hurt, grief, loss. And so we try to protect ourselves from that. So if someone gives us feedback and we don't agree, typically a defense will arise, right? We might blame, we might judge, we might criticize, we might be controlling, we might shut down, we might withdraw, we might avoid. I mean, the possibilities are endless. The key with defensiveness is, this is where I really want to hone in today, is recognizing it. Because if you don't begin to recognize your defenses and how you're reacting, the chances of you really being able to change it are going to be slim to none. So first type of when we want to make a change, the first step is awareness. So we have to go. So let's take an example. So we're on vacation, right? And I am tired. We've gotten there. We've had a few little snafus here and there. And the kids are giving feedback, right? They're hungry. When are we going to get there? And I could feel my, like, just be grateful wanting to come through. Like, let's just focus on gratitude. Let's just be grateful we have the privilege of doing this. I wanted to go into lecture. They're now calling it teachable moments. They're like, please don't do a teachable moment. And that's a defense. I think I'm being a parent. I'm going to do a teachable moment. And that isn't the time they're going to hear me when I'm like, they want to process. I call it feels like complaining, but what they're really doing is they have an unmet need under there. They are probably hungry. They are probably tired, and they just need to process it, name it, release it. So I have to recognize my preach and teach defense that wants to come out. And if I don't recognize that, so I had to breathe, because I could feel me wanting to go into let's be grateful lecture mode. And I had to take a deep breath, and I didn't respond right away. I said, give me a second. I've got to get myself calm. Now I'm making this sound so beautiful. Like, oh, just give me a moment and let me breathe. No, my face is telling a different story, right? My face is irritated, annoyed, a little disgusted, a little angry. Cause I'm like, look, this is a privilege. So I'm having to really work super hard to not go into preach and teach. And this is the moment that the rubber meets the road. It's what are my thoughts about this? How am I labeling this? Am I, oh, they're ungrateful. Oh, they're spoiled. Oh, I can go into all of those things. And my fear of, are they not going to be appreciative? It lasted not long. And then they were like, thank you so much. I didn't prompt anything because I they're like, please don't go into it. They said this, please don't go into a teachable moment. I had to take that feedback instead of going, listen here, don't tell me about being, instead of me getting angry back, I had to take the feedback, do my breathing, and then decide that's the moment, that's the rubber meets the road. How am I going to react? So then I said, I can see you're really hungry and tired. And they're like, yeah. And I go, I get that. We're all tired and we're all hungry. Let's take a few deep breaths. We're going to get a snack soon. That kind of thing. It took work from me to get here to there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think especially as a parent, anyone who's a parent or a grandparent can certainly relate to this, in that moment. My kids will tell you right now, my new thing, and it's probably inspired by my deputy mayor, Matt Light, a good dad joke. My kids say, I'm hungry. I would go, oh, hey, hungry, I'm dad. And they
Mark does the same thing.
Hate that. Oh my God. Like even at 6 and 7 years old, they just hate it. They just cannot stand that joke, but I just, I feed that right back to them. And that's probably not the best way to handle that situation. That's probably me deflecting and saving some time. But, to try to regulate yourself there and ask, all right, well, what would help this scenario? What would help this situation? Trying to answer back with a question. And we've been trying to do at our house. I'm not sure if that's something you would advise or not, but trying to answer that back with a question to let them continue speaking out their emotions and where they're feeling.
Yeah, it depends on the situation. Sometimes it's a question. Sometimes it's acknowledging what's happening. With defenses, they come up so quickly. This is the thing I want to teach. Like, here I am teaching, right? Here we go. Yeah, teachable moment. They will come so rapid fire so quickly. I mean, how often do we go to judgment so fast? That is a defense. How often do we go to sarcasm, joking? Sometimes there's a place for that, and sometimes there's not.
Would you agree that that oftentimes we don't like silence? Silence is uncomfortable, and so that's kind of why we might jump to a defensive nature. Would that be something that you would touch on?
I think it depends on the person. Sometimes silence is very comfortable for people, and they like that. And then sometimes silence is not so comfortable, so they will try to fill the space because they feel awkward. They feel uncomfortable. So in order to manage that awkwardness and that discomfort, they will jump in and try to make a joke, or they'll try to continue. They'll feel responsible to try to make this person feel a certain way because we are feeling awkward. And so defenses are so powerful because they can block connection. So with a partner, if you're in a romantic relationship and your partner is trying to give you feedback, or you're in a friendship and they're trying to give you feedback, part of this is discerning what is your issue and what might be a projection, meaning someone put their fear onto you, right? They put their shame onto you. It's really their stuff, not yours. But you have to be that's why self-awareness is so empowering, because you can discern what's yours and what's not. But in romantic relationships, in any kind of relationship, defensiveness is a barrier to that belonging and that sense of connection that you're longing for. And if you saw this in your family system where defensiveness was a high part of the family system, which most of us did because we didn't know about this, we will then either model that same defensiveness unconsciously, or we'll swing the pendulum and pick something totally different. Like, I will, if I didn't get much as a kid, let's say, for example, I'll work with people that didn't get much, so they're giving their kids everything. That's also a defense to manage your fear, to manage your anxiety. Oftentimes defenses are used to manage that fear and anxiety, that fear of rejection, abandonment, displacement, not belonging. And so we'll overcompensate, we'll people please in order to try to feel like we belong. But if we're doing that, we're not really being our authentic self. We did that so we got approval, we got likes, we got accolades, we got recognized, we got validated for that. And the truth of the matter is, I was doing some deep work the last 2 weeks on specialness. Like, we all want to feel special. It's just part of, and the truth is, there's really no such thing. We all are special. It's already there. We're already a unique being, but it got buried between this societal and familial way that we thought we had to be in order to get value, belonging, and connection. And so this creates a lot of anxiety for us because we want so much to feel enough. We want so much to feel like, hey, you like me. I'm likable. I'm lovable. I belong to this group or system or whatever it is. And so defensiveness is a way to kind of say, hey, I'm not going to get hurt. You're not going to hurt me. I'm not going to go through that again. I'm not going to go through grief and loss again. And it doesn't get us where we want to go.
Yeah, I think by now there's a lot of people probably watching here today, myself included, thinking about ways that we're defensive, that I see defensiveness in myself, that way I handle certain things. But I want to pivot here on our last topic on defensiveness. I want to touch on, with it being National Stress Awareness Month, we want to talk a little bit about stress and stress management too. But if we are in a relationship, or even whether it be your personal relationship or a relationship with a coworker at work where someone else is always defensive, or you view them as being defensive, how can you help maybe confront that in someone else? That's a little bit different than managing your own defenses, but how do you work with someone else to point out their defenses? That's probably a delicate thing, because it probably would make them be more defensive, but touch on that for a minute.
Yeah, the first thing I want to say is the don'ts. Don't say, why are you so defensive? Because guess what they're going to do is get more defensive. So we don't want to go, why are you so defensive? Say, hey, how are you feeling right now? What's coming up for you? And if they say, well, I feel like you're attacking me, because this is what people will say. I feel like you're attacking me. Now I'm going to mirror back what they say. So you really feel like I'm kind of coming after you and attacking you. Yeah. All you're doing is criticizing me. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not. So I'm going to ask myself the question, is that true? And I'll say, well, thank you for sharing that with me. That doesn't feel good when you feel attacked. Can you say more about that? Yeah. You came after me and you said, you don't think I'm doing well. And maybe you didn't even say that. Okay. Because this is often the case.
It's how they heard it.
It's how they filtered it through their own shame. It's really not about you. This is why I said Q-tip. Quit taking it personally.
Q-tip. Oh, all right.
Taking it personally. Q-tip. And when we
write that down.
Quit taking it personally. Q-tip. When we take it personally, I'm now more engaged in getting defensive because I want to tell you how that's not true. Like, that's wrong. And what we do is we get into right, wrong, or I didn't say that. And so you're looking more for understanding. Well, help me help me understand kind of how you got to this place where you feel like I told you you're not good enough. Well, you did. Tell me more about that. And so instead of right away combating what they're saying, you're going to kind of get more curious about what they're saying or feeling. Get curious about emotions. Like, what are you feeling right now? And chances are they're not going to know, because people are like, I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling pissed. I feel attacked. I feel, and you can go, yeah, that doesn't feel good. I love that line, because it doesn't. If you feel attacked, you're not like, oh, I love you. You let me come closer to you. No, I'm now trying to armor up against your quote unquote attack, right? So the first thing is Q-tip, quit taking it personally, because chances are it's something deeper within them. Okay. We all have hurts and wounds. We all have fears of not being liked, or not performing well, or not feeling like I'm doing good on the job, or I'm not pulling my weight in this relationship, whatever it is. And so those are my top. And then listen to understand. Really, that's so hard. I know I'm making it sound so easy, but when we try to listen to kind of get beneath what they're saying, get to the emotions, and don't assume you know what someone's feeling. Don't assume you know what someone's feeling, because you can go, I know you're mad, based on their facial expressions. And someone's going to go, don't tell me what you think I am. And chances are anger is just a defense. Underneath is probably sadness and fear.
So, I have been known to one time use the statement, I think it was maybe an argument with my someone I know really well, I haven't been married to, who I think I said one time, like, you get paid by the hour to know what I think. I'm sure we've all felt that. I'm sure we've all felt
this. We all mind read, and we all project, because we are convinced we story write. We're convinced we know what the person's thinking and feeling, instead of asking directly. Ask directly. Do not assume you know. That's dangerous. And trust me, I get into this all the time. It's hard for me, because I'm like, I can tell beneath that is fear. And I can't do that, because then it's a righteousness. It's almost like a superiority that I know and you don't.
Right.
And that is dangerous, because I don't know.
And we're all guilty of it. I have to go on record as saying I'm just as guilty as the person I was arguing with on that too. Is we all think we know what other people are thinking. That's such a slippery slope to go down.
Yeah. So go under the assumption I don't know, because that's safe. And that actually is more connective, because then you can be curious about it rather than I know. And when I get into I know, it's a righteous state.
When you're starting at such a bad starting point too. You're not starting at an understanding starting point. You already have made assumptions about a situation or someone that won't allow you to get to the real truth or the root of the issue.
And I like to say something like, especially in my marriage, I'll say, the story I'm making up is you think that I'm not doing enough. I'm making this up, but you get the idea. And then he can say, I'm not thinking that at all. Now, the other person could go, well, I don't believe you. Well, that's your stuff. Okay. I mean, this is where you have to ask the direct question. Name the story that you're making up out loud and check it.
Yes.
So defenses are all about, don't take it personally, quit taking it personally, get curious, get to the emotion, and offer empathy. As hard as that is, try to offer empathy, and you can say, yeah, that really doesn't feel good, is an empathy statement.
Yeah.
If you feel attacked or criticized, that doesn't feel good.
And I've said on this show many times, I'm working on empathy in 2022. So I'm trying to make some progress here. So
it's tough when you feel attacked and you feel that's one of the toughest times to offer empathy.
Yeah. Well, real quick with our remaining time here, it is National Stress Relief Month. What's the
Awareness Month?
Awareness. Thank you. I screwed up the title there. We all have stress in our life. I want to touch on this. It's also National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, which I think in a couple of weeks we're going to talk specifically on that topic. But I want to get to stress. I think we've been very, very open about stress and how prevalent it is in our everyday life. So maybe offer some definitions of kind of what stress may look like in your life, and then maybe some solutions too as we wind down this week's episode.
So stress can look many different things in our lives. We have a to-do list that's 10 feet long. We're trying to make money. We're trying to bring an income in. We're trying to caretake our family. We're trying to put food on the table. We're trying to cook dinners. We're trying to get the meals prepared. You're trying to take care of yourself. You're trying to do self-care. I mean, the list is endless on what stress looks like. Here's the key. Stress lives in your body. And stress, if not processed, or have emotions attached to it. So if we're not processing those emotions and those body sensations, where is stress living in your body? Mine often is in my shoulders. I can feel it. I have stress. I'll see clients come in and I'm like, oh, what are you carrying around? And that's the question I want you to answer. What are you carrying around? I'm carrying around the weight of worrying about how, is my partner happy with me or not? I'm worried about if my kids are going to be okay. I'm worried about my parents that are aging. I'm worried about, and so if we do not process and name those with someone we trust, it lives in the body and we push it down into our nervous system rather than release it out of our nervous system. So here's 5 things that I think every single person needs to be doing right now to manage stress. 1, deep breathing every hour. You got to be doing 5 to 6 breaths. I cannot tell you how, and research backs me up on this, important that is to you, your wellness and your nervous system. Number 2, naming and getting familiar with emotions. If you don't know, Dr. Brene Brown has some great books. She just wrote a great book, Atlas of the Heart, that names 87 emotions. I really focus on the 7 core emotions. It's Not Always Depression is a great book. You got to start getting connected and self-aware. Number 3, some sort of movement. We've talked about this with what you're physically able to do. If it's walk around the house, if it's moving your arms up and down, if it's moving your feet, whatever that looks like for you, you've got to move every day to release that stress out of your nervous system. Yoga's great. Number 4, prayer and meditation. You got to have some form of a practice where you're getting still and you're getting quiet. We distract ourselves with social media, of so many things right now, TV, binge, there's nothing wrong with it, but we've got to come back to center in order to really regroup. And number 5 is a support system. You need a healthy support system. And if that looks like a 12-step program, if that looks like a church group, if that looks like a friend group, if that looks like one person, a therapist, somebody that you can talk to, you need a support system. We need other people to be able to process the hard that we all have in life.
Yeah, I was going to say, I always think about breathing is the number one thing I learned from you over the past 2 and almost now 2.5 years. The second thing is that stress and anxiety lives in the body. That's something I think about all the time. That's why I do physical activity. I say it's even more for mental health than it is for physical health for me at times. I feel infinitely better by the time I do it, but that's why I do it, is to get up and move and try to release that stress and that anxiety that lives in my body. I think that's something to think about all the time, because even when we're, especially on the anxiety side, if we're super anxious, oftentimes we don't want to move. We want to lay in bed or we want to whatever. Getting yourself up to move is what really helps release that and move us forward. So those are awesome pieces of advice. So I wanted to make sure that we ended it with some practical application there too for folks to take away. So remember, breathe, move, talk to people, whether it be, like I said, a mental health professional or just someone going through, a friend that you can lean on and speak with. That's hugely, hugely important. So,
and the last thing I want to add is writing. I mean, you won't see me without my write, in whatever writing looks like for you. You can use your phone. I recommend a journal. It is scientifically based. Research says people that write heal faster.
Write it out to get it out.
It's essential. I mean, awesome. You see me on the plane. I was like, what are you writing over there? I'm writing it all out.
Write my thoughts down.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Kristen Boice. You are wonderful. Mrs. Elliott, Mrs. Hines, I see you chiming in over there too. Thanks for listening. Always sending kind words and notes our way. So be kind to one another. Stick around here in a couple of weeks. We'll tackle the issue of sexual assault in honor of Sexual Assault Awareness Month here this month. We can talk a little bit about that topic. It'll be a heavier topic, but please, in the meantime, if you need help, Kristen Boice, where can people turn immediately?
1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-TALK. Please know there's support out there for you, or you can text 741-741. And if you are in a domestic violence situation prevail here locally, and you can go on their website. Also, we have a page, or you have a page on the City of Noblesville website that has mental health resources, and there are a ton. So please know the resources out there, and you matter, and you're important, and you're loved, and you're enough.
It's awesome. Thanks again, Kristen Boice. Take care, and we'll see you back in a couple weeks.